So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. Let's make some silence first. Silence, the ultimate battle, the releasing of attention from its objects to its resting place, the source of I. Unbothered by afflictions, by moving objects, by desires, attention rests at the source. And there it melts. So welcome all. Just reminding you that we use WhatsApp as a means of communication. You can send your questions, they come directly to me. So before going to questions, time is a very important ally. As soon as you get in touch or get touched by the quest for freedom, the sooner it is, the better it is. There's this common idea that I'm getting the call, my attention is being directed towards the quest for truth, but I don't have security, financial security. And after I get that, then I will dedicate myself to the quest for truth. There's nothing more deceiving than this. The beginning, when things, as they come, it is the best moment for it. The more time you leave, the more time it passes, the worst. Because what does this mean when I have stability? Well, it means that your belief in the dream is complete and you want to have a stability in the dream. That means to solidify, to crystallize the beliefs that the dream is real, that these laws apply. So how can then you aspire for freedom when you are completely entangled, 100% believing, not by concepts, mental concepts, but by attitudes? It's quite common. People saying, oh, it is a dream, it's not real, so why bother with spiritual practices? But then you ask, but so are you working? Do you have a job? Yes, we have to eat. We have to. So where is this? Where's the logic? With the reasoning and with the actual practice, with the way you're living your life. Oh, but this goes slowly. There's always a logic there to protect. And it's very difficult to change that. Because maturity in the beginning is that what is lacking. And people imagine that it is because of the absence of maturity, for example, that they do not make the right decisions, spiritually speaking. Worldly speaking is the same. But maturity comes with time. And it comes into the circumstances that you are living. So everything which is being developed in that time to secure the basics, what is called the basics, another joke. You're maturing into those values, into that vision of life, then if you want to apply it in your spiritual quest, the same maturity will be there, but it will be worldly based maturity. If you answer the call and you focus on it and dedicate on it, yes, you will not find material security, whatever that means, but you will find a different security. One that is not constricted to circumstances. And the maturity that will come, it will be much better, very much useful. So the calling is never wrong. If it appears, it is time. If it appears, it is blessing. If it appears, it should be answered. It's your best interest. It doesn't matter what your mind says. Logic always prevails. Logic always prevails, more or less. What does this mean? Logic will be always there, protecting your best interest according to your values. So if your values, the highest values you undertake are freedom, the quest for freedom, your logic will be there assisting that goal. If you're a seeker of truth, or apparently a seeker of truth, but your real values still lie with dependency, acceptance, all these things, all these desires, worldly desires. If you're trying to do things at the same time, logic will be there protecting that. If you're someone just entangled in worldly desires, no interest in the quest for spirituality, your logic will be there assisting that. So the logic that you are using, it doesn't show how right or wrong you are according to someone else. It just reveals what is fundamentally more important to you. And you'll be right to some extent. Everybody is. You may engage in different arguments. And if it is in the spiritual grounds, well, then you will use scriptural injunctions, books, quotes from masters, all of this. And it will seem like yes, because logic is there. But logic is a very fragile thing, a very mutable thing. Mutable, I don't know if this is an existing word, but logic changes a lot. You will see that the logic that you entertain now is completely different from the logic you had 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Conviction is same, more or less, because, well, maturity comes and it makes a little bit of difference. So logic has no value, no direct value. The only value for you, your logic, well, it will assist you when your compass is in the right place. It will assist you in keeping in that place. Before that, it is there just to distract you. but its biggest value is revealing to you what is more important. As a seeker of truth, if your logic is there to protect your comfort, your worldly aspirations, or if your logic is there to assist you to go beyond that, knowing you know enough of a lot of things, but your logic will reveal to you what is still fundamentally more important. And then you can see if you agree with that or if you don't. Because you may find out that, yes, the speech is freedom-oriented, all of this, but still, logic is being used to somehow protect what is precious, protect me from my fears and all of this. So these are in the first place. And then if you don't agree, you can counter it. Your worldly desires, whatever they may be, and the stronger they are there to consume your time, to consume this life. And it does it real quick. So the calling is never wrong. And of course, no one is ready, but you get ready as you start going. And it's kind of a direction. Whatever it is pulling you is kind of a direction. And the more you understand that direction and you run towards it, the faster that journey will be completed. So if the calling has come, there's no better moment than this one. And whatever you will build, that's what you will enjoy. Sometimes enjoyment is not really the word to use, but still enjoying. Enjoying the sweet, the honey, enjoying the bitter, the vinegar. Because aspiring for freedom and dedicating your time building a cage to be safe, they are not in line, they are not in tune. The logic works. Say, okay, but how can I evolve spiritually if I don't have stability, if I have no peace? But peace is not circumstantial. So how would these circumstances give you peace? Really? And whatever you're building, then will have to crash, more or less, or at least has to be lived. Oh, but there are so many things I still want to live. And where did these things come from? Where did these desires come from? So you imagine that when you exhaust those desires, then you can dedicate to freedom. Time ends before the exhaustion of desires. much before. Desires continue, life after life, giving birth to another life. You don't exhaust desires. Desires exhaust you. To understand this, it is the difficult part. This is why it's a life after another and another and another and another. It's just going around in the same dream, which is a little bit more bigger than it appears to be. Where did those desires came from? I've seen people coming in their 20s looking for the partner, the relationship. And I see people coming in their 70s with the same needs like they were in their 20s, like their life is about to begin. They have spent their whole life with this idea. But where do these ideas come from? And how do they get so much importance? And how long have you been around looking for those things? These are just decoys. Behind all of those things is happiness. Not just any happiness, everlasting happiness. This is why you test a relationship, then you change, and you change. And whatever you are always changing and trying to improve. Why does it need improvement? Because it is what it is. Because it is not everlasting happiness. It's not a relationship, but the happiness you imagine that comes from it. But not any kind of happiness, everlasting happiness. And the other one will always be failing miserably. It doesn't matter if it's there not giving you attention or if it's giving you all that it has. But it's not everlasting happiness. Because this is the quest. So it is the way that this everlasting happiness, which is your real nature, is translated in dreamlike language. Like it was meant to be found in the dream. But as long as it is in the dream, it is delaying it. For those who say they have time, well, no problem. Time they have, because time is, you cannot exhaust it. So I have time. Yes, it is true. You have more than enough time. too much time, unbearable time, you just don't know it. Getting out from the grip of time, that is the challenge, not to stay in time. But those who are okay with time, okay? Those who have the calling for truth, their mindset needs to be different. Because all the rest is just a waste of time. At the end of the day, it comes about the beginning of this satsang. When I've spoken, attention moving towards phenomenon, towards objects, towards the world, towards the dream, or resting at the source. As it is moving, it is in the grip of time, in the grip of illusion. And it is remaining there long enough, uninterested with the dream, it starts to dissolve. But if you're entertained with the dream, what dissolution? And yes, there are other words also good to describe this, but this term dissolution gives a better picture. Not the most accurate, but the better picture for this example. If attention is still moving towards objects, then there is still interest in the dream. So, if there's still interest in the dream, no point taking it out of the dream. Only when attention stops moving towards objects. Hello, my friend. I will answer your question now. Hi, dear Sriman. Your last answer to my question made me react emotionally. At that moment, I hate you. I don't know why, but for 2 days it affected me. Tears flowed without holding them back. I was like exhausted, and at the same time, I had this voice due to the teachings, persist, persist. I don't even know if I understood everything because I have to translate with a part of translator, but it had a big impact on me. I do not know if I'm a seeker of truth, but I know that I am not a seeker of well-being, because the two are identical. But I have known for a long time to bring down my personality. I'm tired of being defined, you're like this, you're like that, and I fought with it. And the worst part is, I believe it. I just want to be. I want to give up my little individual character, my individual life for the bigger one. Tired of being identified with this heap of insignificance. Sometimes I have clarity and energy telling me, here it is done, for example, by such a place, and then I see that I take no action. Is this a leak? And is it really a message, guidance? I didn't want to ask any more questions, but it is necessary to see my fragility. My fragility and I wanting for that. Thank you for reading me. Gratitude. Since some time, some little fragility persists. My eyes feeling like want to cry. My eyes cried without tears since few days. It is my position. Why? What's happening? Nothing happening in my material or whatever my life. It is personal and intimate. but I feel I need to tell it. Thank you to receive it. Like fragility arise without any verifiable reason. Yes, it is like this. First of all, understanding is something which is quite, how do you say this, quite personal. So one thing is what is being said, the other is what is being understood. And everybody understands what they can, not what they want, but what they can, what is possible. And depending on the values, what is the best intended. So this moment as the clear signs of a spiritual diving, a part of this process that I describe as a cyclic one, and it's like it is entering a deeper layer. It's like, for example, you have a two-storage house. So you're cleaning the first, everything is cleaned already. It was very messy, very dirty, but you cleaned it, you make an effort and you cleaned everything. But without noticing, you fall down the stairs and you find yourself in the first floor. And it is as dirty or dirtier than it was the first one that you cleaned. You didn't notice that you fell down the stairs, that you're in a different layer of your house. And you go, but what's happened? Because everything is messier and dirtier than it was before. So didn't I clean it properly? So it is like this. And the more you are connected to the outer circumstances of your life, the worse, because accessing these layers will involve others, will involve outer circumstances, and it becomes more complicated. Why does it become complicated? Because, in a sense, one of the laws of the dream is the law of karma. So this having no interest in the world is a key factor for several reasons. One is because of these karmic effects. You stop creating karma, good, bad, whatever, because as you are creating karma, you are ensuring future experiences. So the less, it's impossible to make it zero, yes, of course, but you can reduce it a lot. So if you stop your greed for meat, you will not be wrestling at the butcher houses. So a lot of things will not be created. And this is important. So if you're accessing deeper layers of your process, deep-seated traumas, roots, emotional intensities, let's call it this way, will arise, will explode. And if you're interacting with others, the more you interact with others, the more you will project this into others and then create confusion with them, creating more karma, more future experiences. So the more you isolate yourself, the better. And you'll be living these intense cycles. The difference is you will not have these outer circumstances to justify it. You will see it as completely independent from them. There's no outer apparent reason, because this is what the mind does. It associates things, creates a connection when sometimes there isn't. So the more you close yourself into yourself, the more you'll be able to live this process without associating it with anything else. And they don't really have an association. But if you're interacting with the circumstances, with the outside world, then you will establish the link with one thing to the other. And by creating that link, same old continues. Because you are feeding those things. So the dirt has to come out, be experienced, be lived, without association with the outer circumstances, so that it goes away. Not goes away, it's there's many ways to talk about this, but so that it doesn't feed those layers, because this is what it does. If hate is coming, for example, and you're associating with the circumstance, with someone, then you're feeding the stock of hate instead of releasing it. Understand? I'm not talking about this example here that you gave me about hating me or that. That's quite common. But not talking about that, just an example. So the more you are closed into yourself, the more you will experience these things apart from circumstances. So for you to be experiencing that without any circumstances justifying it, it means that the level of privacy you're giving to yourself and to your process is good. So that is normal. And as you pierce through a deeper level, emotions will become intense, and crying, yes, will overflow. This is a very important center, and it carries a lot of garbage, emotional garbage. So it doesn't matter what is there and what is coming out, and for what reason. The logic always tries to adapt and to understand and to control. But let go of these mechanisms. Understanding is not a prerequisite. It's not a requirement. You just allow. So these tears bursting without any reason, this is good. It is cleansing away. And the idea, let me just phrase this, the idea that seekers have this logic: if I'm doing things right, I'm peaceful. If I'm losing my peace, I'm doing something wrong. What you call peace has no peace in it, nothing. Understand, you will have to go through your layers of chaos, of intensity, of distress. And after you have emptied all those layers, and as you finish one, another one comes so intense or more intense than the beginning one. It seems like so I was in heaven, I fall down into hell again. Yes, that's how it happens. And it is normal. And only after exhausting all the layers, there you'll find peace. There you are. Not before that. Not before that. Holding back. I was like exhausted, and at the same time I had this voice, due to the teachings persist. So it is getting alive. The process is getting alive. You're exhausted because your energy is being used to deal with this intense layer that arises. This is why your energy is lacking, because it is working this intense layer, purifying it. And the beginning, it is a very gross one, a lot of gross emotions, a lot of things like this. So it is exhausting. So don't try to get out from that. I don't even know if I understood everything, because I have to translate with the translator, but it had a big impact on me. Yeah, well, probably you didn't, but that's not a problem, because you had what you needed. And it's not about, understand, it's not about finding the outside trigger. It's what's important is, it is unfolding. That's the important part. So, and that means it was time and you have understood what you needed. That's the most important. I do not know if I'm a seeker of truth, but I know that I'm not a seeker of well-being, because the two are identical. Not really identical. They appear to be in the outer circumstances, what's observable, but their motivations are opposite. So their understandings are opposite and all of that. And I make this distinction so that seekers of truth can identify the seeker of well-being in themselves and correct it. Because the seeker of well-being is there in all of you. But you need to stop its actions and empower the seeker of truth. And as you do this completely, then you're close to the end. Whatever that means. But I have known for a long time to bring down my personality. I'm tired of being defined. You're like, The worst part is I believe it. Yes. I want to give up my individual character, my individual life for the bigger one. Tired of being identified with this heap of insignificance. Sometimes I have a clarity, an energy telling me, here it is done, how it is done. For example, such place, and I see I take no action. This is important. Here it is. Is there a leak? Yes, there is a big leak, a huge leak. This being tired is part of the dream. You're being tired, you're at the low end of the ladder, and you don't want it anymore. This is the renovation point of the cycles of delusion. So I've seen countless people in front of me crying their lungs out, saying they don't want any more and they have enough, and I look at them and I see clearly that it is not that way. They still want it and they still have a long way to go until they completely understand profoundly what they are feeling at that moment, and to be able to honor it completely. It will take a long time. So it's not the words or the feelings that are there, but the action which is being undertaken in that direction that makes the difference. So you're having all of this, but then a direction comes, an energy or whatever you're interpreting, and there's no action. Then you're questioning, is it guidance or not? Well, that depends on you. It can be a guidance which is suitable to your level at this moment, and it can expand exponentially. Depends on what you do with it. So the one who is thirsty for guidance, it doesn't matter how it comes, how it appears, he follows unquestionably. And this following without questioning, this is what opens the path for real guidance, for stronger guidance, for more direct guidance. Without it, there's no point whatsoever, because at the end of the day, you say, oh, I don't want any more. But then a direction comes, okay, so go this way. And you continue your path. Well, it seems that you really still want it. So why bother giving more direct guidance? Only just a hint here or there. But if you start following those hints without questioning, giving it absolute importance, probably you will make some mistakes, whatever that means. You will interpret things that are not guidance as guidance, but that's not the question. You are creating this connection, aligning with a bigger source, and eventually guidance will be there. And understand that in guidance, there's not such a thing as right and wrong. It is about, are you surrendering completely or not? And guidance will always give you, the fundamental aspect of guidance is giving you an opportunity to surrender. So if the guidance you're expecting has to be aligned with your logic, you're not fit for guidance yet. Because the first guidance, when it is serious, if it is guidance for babies, yes, it comes aligned with logic. But when it is for grown people, then it doesn't. It is going to counter your logic in any way. And either you surrender or you don't. It is like this. And it is in surrender that less of you remains, more of guidance presents itself. So the best thing for you is just don't try to get out from that, from what you're feeling from that moment, because it is alive. You will see that it is alive. It has a life of its own and it's taking you. So continue your practices and understand that that is expected. And don't run from it. Exhaust everything which is about what is concerned to that layer. And then as hell passes by, then heaven will come again, and you'll reach the highest peak of that. And then if things continue right in its right place, you go down to hell again. And that is the way of emptying all these negativities, noise, chaos, attachments, all of that. Layer after layer. Okay, Quentin Breton. Okay, as we are incarnated through this body in this life, can't we say that there will be a function, not coming from thought, however, from beingness, expressed by the individual once the mind, even once the mind is silenced, a gift that everybody has to express in this reality, even though its illusory nature is understood, aka alignment found and expressed in physicality. Well, Quentin, it would be better if you could elaborate a little bit more of what you are, what is the message you're trying to pass, because if we say that there isn't something of uniqueness that you have to express in life, if we say it doesn't, well, it's not. But if we say it is and it has to be expressed, well, then it is being expressed. So I'm not understanding the point. Usually, these types of sentences, they come as the one who is giving them is getting bothered by this letting go everything and just focusing at the source, like everything is useless. And this type of commentaries, or whatever you want to call them, they come in a way to justify individual life, this kind of life, this incarnated life, whatever that means, because nothing incarnates, there's no meat anywhere. Okay. To justify its existence. So to get all these desires out of it. So if there's something unique to be expressed, then that must be being expressed. No need to make an effort in that sense. And that goes to everybody, seekers of truth, seekers of well-being, worldly seekers, Everybody, if they have a uniqueness, is being expressed through being or awareness or whatever you put here, then that must be being expressed by itself. So say human life is a miracle. Of course it is. It's but it's like here also in life you have many situations that relationships, possessions of some sort, they become like a dream in a positive way. Oh, this is dreamlike. Then it becomes nightmare. So it is the same more or less with this miracle. It is important to appreciate life, yes, of course, but that's not the name of the game. Though that appreciating life, it is something that makes you look at life in the more sacred way, the source of life, more sacred way, not in a way to lose yourself completely in it. So if you want to elaborate a little bit more on this, what you've called here, what you've put here, that would be better to understand. But the life of the body, and if it has to pass something unique, it will pass it on its own. It exists by its own accord. And it will go through all the way. You have all that time available for the quest for freedom. And for example, the previous question, the moment that this seeker is, these experiences define how alive is your process or it isn't. And these type of situations come and they disturb because the logic, what was being seen, was different. So this is a new light coming in the horizon and it's showing a different life. So those who walk an intellectual path, a make-believe path, they don't see it. They stand by the logic and the how do you say, the maturity of a worldly seeker. Only those who start giving real steps, they start to, a new world starts unfolding in front of them, and it's completely different, completely different. Well, so as our friend is not improving his question, so it is all for today. But usually, these sentences, they come from those who still want to justify their life. They know already too much that threatens what's established, and they want to justify the importance given to it. Usually. It can be a different case. Alguma coisa aí? Okay. So, it is all for today. Next satsang will be Saturday, 9 o'clock in the morning, Brazilian time, UTC -3. Until then, make it real for you. Watch.